like a live.
Oh, it's time! It's time for Judging a Book! Welcome back to Judging a Book by its cover here at the beautiful CONvergence 2023. We are returning after a hiatus of a few years.
Yes.
I don't know what happened, something. But for some reason, it didn't happen for a few years. But
I wasn't here today.
Jerry was not here. And Jerry, of course, this was Jerry's idea. His brainchild turned into Judging a Book by its cover, and we are back. Well, okay, Jerry thought of it, and then Melissa made it better.
I immediately contacted Melissa because she can make anything happen.
Right.
So.
Ultimately, what happens is somebody else thinks of it, and then Melissa makes it happen properly. So that's what happened. We are doing Judging a Book by its cover. The way it works is we have two teams of literary experts. I know that here at CONvergence we often do focus on other media a lot, but we need to remember that books are part of the science fiction tapestry, and we need to recognize it here. And the way we do is by playing Judging a Book by its cover. So these two teams of experts are going to be shown the cover of a book. They will not be shown anything else about the book, but they are experts. And so what they're going to do is explain to you the plot of the book, having only seen the cover.
Well, and of course, having read it, because we've read all the books.
Well, yes, I was going to say, yeah, they will be explaining. It's going to be from memory, because they will remember the book, having seen the cover. In fact, they know it so well that the other team is going to look at the cover and tell them the title of that book, which they already knew.
Of course.
They already knew, but that's not the point. The point is we have to test everybody's knowledge of these books. Now we have 3 rounds in which that's going to happen, and we are going to have the teams of Jerry Belich, of course, the first idea man.
There's some seats.
I am an idea guy.
There are some seats scattered throughout here up front too, if y'all need seats.
And if you did not know it yet, the fabulous host of our opening ceremony and CONvergence 2024 Guest of Honor, Miss Shannan. I gotta be clear though, she is not a Guest of Honor this year, so don't treat her any different.
No.
And they're up against the team of Molly Glover and Nick Glover. Long-time participants here in Judging a Book by its cover. And we're going to move right into round one. Right into round one, we are going to give the first book description to Molly and Nick. That means Jerry and Miss Shannan, you are going to be telling us the title of the book they're going to be describing, which is this book cover right here.
Yeah. One of my favorites. Isn't that one of your favorites, Jerry?
Yeah.
So what is the title of this book, Jerry and Miss Shannan? Yeah, it has to be a secret. Okay, we need a title.
Big Space Cowboy, take my daughter, not my dog.
Big Space
Cowboy, take my daughter, not my dog. Big Space Cowboy, take my daughter, not my dog. All right, Holly and Nick, how long do they have, Melissa?
They have 6 minutes.
You have 6 minutes to describe the entire plot of Big Space Cowboy, take my daughter, not my dog.
Spoiler alert, first of all.
I just want to start by saying I was really disappointed that this book didn't start with a content warning for animal stuff. So, like...
We'll skip over that. We won't get into that.
Not like Guardians of the Galaxy animal stuff. I mean like talking animal stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I find it really disturbing, personally. But the dog does talk, and it's got a foul mouth.
If you go to doesthedogtalk.com, it will say yes. So that is good, if you go look it up. One of the things that I liked the most about this book is because I like to read a lot of spec fic. I don't know about the rest of you, but I love to read, especially speculative post-apocalyptic fiction. So when I first saw the cover of this, I was like, give me that post-apocalyptic stuff. But truthfully, it's a utopia society. Like if you look at it, like it's a utopic society because everyone's actually really happy that the space cowboy came to enslave them and to subjugate them. Things were pretty rough. No one was having a good time. Everyone had to have jobs. There was capitalism. And as you're reading it, you're at the beginning at least, I don't know about you, Nick, but I was like, this sounds like America. Like, it really, like, there's a lot of similarities, like with how unhappy everyone was and everyone's teeth were falling out. And so like that, I thought when the cowboy came that everyone was going to rebel, but actually it was a pretty smooth transition because he just shoots healthcare out of the hole in his undercarriage. It just comes out and you just go like this and you get it. I don't know how else to describe it because it's a book, they didn't show it, they tell it, which is better personally.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm staunchly anti-fascist, but like this benevolent fascist robot kind of, I want to say it won me over because that sounds, you know, but I mean, like the first thing it did was like, it ate the rich.
It literally, and it turned them into healthcare.
Right.
It just processed them in a tube right down out.
That's so weird that you could just process billions into healthcare for everyone.
I think it's a metaphor.
What a novel idea.
It wasn't a novel.
I hope it gets adapted to be a movie someday because there's a scene where they open the cabinet of the robot's chest and you can actually see like the mill, you know, gears grinding them down into grist and then turning into like healthcare cards and contact lenses and stuff. It's kind of amazing.
You know, I think you bring up a good point, Nick, and I hate to interrupt, but I understand it is going to be made into a movie, and I know, you know, the writer's strike, who knows when that's going to happen, but I think it would be good if you could describe some other parts of the book that you think would be great for the movie adaptation.
Well, so I was just getting to the subtitle, Take My Daughter, Not My Dog. And so a big part of that is because it turns out that the you know, eponymous daughter, who is the protagonist, Man Good Guy's daughter, and her name is Delilah. And Delilah Good Guy, it turns out, is secretly a billionaire.
Yeah.
And so, but she gets missed by the space cowboy robot because he can't sense her, she's too short. And as we all know, billionaires are very tall and strong and handsome. They have to be. They're billionaires. So, and so because she had all her hair, it couldn't sense that, and it ends up being like, you're going to have to take my daughter, and the robot offers a trade. Do you remember that? That was so good.
Well, so a part of the reason the trade comes about is it's one of those weird, eccentric billionaire things where the daughter has actually left her fortune to the dog in her will.
Right.
So if she gets ground up, the dog then becomes a billionaire and would have to get ground up too, right? And the dog, as a talking dog, is like, rough, no thanks.
Yeah. Which I know that freaked you out, but honestly, like, I really liked the talking dog. I thought that it added a lot of, like, a je ne sais quoi, and was very much like the ghost in the machine, as it were, you know? Like, the dog really moves the plot forward by just telling you things that happened that they didn't feel like describing.
So the deal the robot offers is, the robot says, tell you what, I will take your daughter, in exchange, I will notarize an updated will.
Yeah.
And that's what the robot is a notary public.
And Man Good Guy is absolutely all about this because he actually is a lawyer, or was, but no one has jobs now. No one has to because we only have jobs for healthcare, right? I mean, we're all in agreement about that, right? So it's just not a problem. I found that it was, so to me, if you've read the Wool books by Hugh Howey, it really had a lot of similarities with Silo and the fact that everyone is suddenly in this society that they're, you know, and it's like, are you laboring under fascism? Who can say? For this one, you know you are.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, the mystery is gone. And when the mystery is gone from life, all you have to think about is TV. It's nice.
Yeah. I was surprised by all the channels and options that the characters discuss.
I think that could be really cool. You know, like how in the She-Hulk thing, they did the Netflix.
They could definitely do that.
What was your favorite channel?
My favorite channel was probably Squirrel-O-Vision. It was a channel entirely dedicated to squirrel videos, squirrel obstacle courses.
You have 30 seconds left. So you better get to the conclusion.
Well,
the big finale.
Well, the big finale, I think, is just that when they make this movie, there's absolutely no fucking way they're going to be able to do everything because, frankly, I don't know how you're going to have a talking dog that also knows how to notarize and sign a will. Like, I mean, the robot notarizes part of it, but the dog has to sign too. That's how a notary works.
and the dog can talk, but it can't hold a pen.
Right, it's still a dog. So unless there's a lot of CGI that I just think is going to ruin it, I don't know. I'm not into the movie.
It was a good book, but the ending really fell flat.
Oh yeah, the fact that at the
And
end...
that's time. We aren't going to be able to talk about how the ending fell flat. I guess you're just going to have to read that book for yourself. I'm sure it's available at a library here in Minnesota. I can't make promises about other states. But here in Minnesota, we still have all our books in the library. Of course, it turns out, this is a spoiler perhaps, the name of that book is not Space Cowboy, Take My Dog, Not My Daughter.
Oh my God, because that's not what it was, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Instead, Melissa, could you reveal the actual title of this book? Robot!
A mechanical monster.
So it's not really far from what you said. Just that might have been just you thought you
They
mistaken.
just cut to the chase.
It's just a matter of perspective.
It's called subtext.
You mistaked book 1 for book 2. I think is really what happened.
Jerry, it's not subtext. I think they're called footnotes.
Foot
Lots of
text.
footnotes in this book.
All right, well,
Oh, Molly, I did want you to know, just so you weren't concerned,
Yeah.
Henson Studios is getting involved with the movie.
Oh,
So,
you know what?
It's not going to be a CGI.
I think if anyone can make a notary dog, it's Henson.
yeah, I think it might not even be there first. So it's pretty
Little
incredible.
known fact about Rolf.
I'm suddenly not so worried about a talking dog. I feel,
And in the Fraggle Rock series, I'm pretty sure
Oh, yeah.
that was in there too.
That's for sure. All right, so we are going to move on to our second set of experts. Making her first appearance here, of course, is Miss Shannan Paul. She's going to be describing... Oh, is there a second?
There's seats in the front.
It's been so long since we've done this. It's been so long since making her second appearance, Miss Shannan Paul, with Mr. Jerry Belich. And they're going to be describing this book, which Molly and Nick will tell us the title for. This book right here, which, what the hell is... I think that's my friend Carl Anderson. Anyway, or Santa Claus.
okay, yeah.
There's
Stop saying things.
Okay, yeah, this is, it's not super popular, it kind of flew out under everyone's radar, but this is The Old Man and the C++ Manual.
The Old Man and the C++ Manual. Now, before we get started describing it, I'm just going to say, if anybody has like open seats next to them, you can raise your hand because we have people standing who might want to sit down, and I want them to know where they could sit.
And
if
you
they
can
want.
sit in the reserved for hard of hearing members. I wear hearing aids. I'm giving you permission. Come sit down here.
Yeah.
Just put in earplugs.
Yeah. Or don't listen.
This isn't one of those ones where we're gonna like make fun of you and
No,
stuff.
no, no.
You sit up
No,
close.
no,
You're safe.
no.
You're safe.
You're not part of the show just because we invited you to sit down.
So we have the Old Man and the C++ Manual to be
Just 2 pluses.
C++ Manual
Whoa, Tim.
to be.
You should read, maybe.
Settle down, Microsoft.
It's not the sequel.
I'm the host. I'm not the expert.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's not actually the sequel, it's the prequel. I was actually very excited when this one came out because I was a big fan of the one that came after. It was talking about some language that I remember as a child actually programming into my Commodore 64. So when they actually serialized it, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel seen. It was so fabulous. And so when they actually had a character that, I thought I wanted to have a little more diversity, but the old man, the more you got to know him, the more you got to love him, because he kind of was like that cool uncle that you're like, I won't sit on his lap, but I like when he teaches me programming. Because everyone has that one relative that is really good at something. And so it was nice just to see them really just focus on what this person could bring to a younger generation as he was like showing his, this is what it was like back in my day, and we did all this coding, and it took us days just to get one ball to go from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. I thought
And
that
always just miss the corner.
Right. I was kind of surprised that they did that scene for like 17 pages, but once you got into it with the bouncing and the back and
Oh my
forth.
God, I was enraptured.
Yes.
Just waiting for that final hit where it bounced directly in the corner and then straight out. And then you realize that this was this culmination for the old man, because they did all these flashbacks where, because he's imparting onto the youths like what he's learned, especially those finger monsters.
Right.
You ever heard of like rubber ducking in programming? It's when you talk to an inanimate object to process things in your mind. He used the finger monsters,
Right.
and you can see him at the bottom there, and he had one on each finger. And he would talk to them to explain the work that he's doing. Because he actually didn't learn programming as early as you might think. The old days for him were when he was about 84, 85.
Right.
And it was really just getting into like how difficult it is to learn when your brain's already disintegrating.
Exactly, it's not very neuroplastic at that point. But I also did like that the fact that they moved back in this additional generation, because as you can see, the young people were already discounting him and saying that there's no way that he's going to be able to bring anything positive to the society at this point. And then look, he overcame them all, and not only did he manage to come up with this brand new coding language, he also managed to have it help replicate his entire body. So yes, his brain was still getting disintegrated, but his body was reborn, and that was amazing, absolutely amazing.
And it really becomes a story about fighting the interests of the new generation, because they're all like, oh, ChatGPT, we're going to generate the codes, yeah. And realizing that C++ was like ultimately the best weapon you could have. It's like kind of like the Master Sword in Legend of Zelda. It's something that just keeps coming back and you can't get away from it in school or from old people trying to explain you things.
You know, I think one thing that's interesting about this book that I learned from Wikipedia is it really addresses some consequences of aging that you don't really think about.
Absolutely, because we all think about those creams that we need when we get those bags under our eyes, but what do you do if your entire body disintegrates? But your mind is still, you know, you still have the acuity, the mental acuity that you want to continue to give to your society. And so some days talking to your finger monster puppets is not enough. You just have to get your friend and I'm going to program a whole body, who's with me? And that was just fantastic, because it truly showed that even in our older generation, as much as they want to harken back to the good old days of their past, they are willing to go into the future if it means that they don't have to die and they can still be in charge of things. That's amazing.
It's like one of the later chapters, a jar is not enough.
Right.
For containing your mind.
No. Because that was so old school. Like, I was really happy that they didn't go back to that, oh, we took the brain out of his head and we put it in this jar with a bunch of like formaldehyde and some frogs. Like, that would have just been so passe.
For pets.
We did it again. Yeah. Sorry, we're going to do something again. We've seen that in every
You can't
book.
put a dog in a liquid jar.
No.
They
but
tried.
Instead, yeah. Again and again.
Get so
And it
many
never worked.
That's like
brown dogs.
chapters 8 through 14, isn't it? Just
Yes.
dogs in jars.
Well, chapter 8 started as like just the whole litter.
Yeah.
It was dark.
It was dark. Which was really surprising, because this is a prequel and we were not expecting it to be dark like that, because the original novel is just so like fluffy and pink, and the dogs survived the entire book.
Shannan, did you read the prequel to this prequel, my sequel?
Okay, remind me about it, because I think I did. But once they added in that quantumness, it gets so confusing to go, which one came first? Was this one later? Was it a flashback? Were we in a whole different realm? I just was a little surprised. So I think I did. So was that the one that when we went from the prequel first, we started with that before we jumped to the sequel? Which I just didn't think was fair. I wasn't expecting to get a spoiler in this book of a book I hadn't read yet. But I thought it was incredibly innovative, actually, once you actually figure out that that's what they're doing, because you can't do it in the middle, but then add as a flashback in your own brain, you're like, oh, I see, it all came together for a thing that I'm going to read in 6 months. Then it was fantastic.
I appreciated all the references between the books and all the footnotes
Yes.
that would connect to specific passages in the
You got
others.
30 seconds
Right,
left, so
because
I
that
think we better
we
get
had
to
to
the
do an
conclusion.
entire reprint of everything. So if you want to get it, we do encourage you to get the entire series. There's a box set, and it's actually really awesome because it not only has like real leather that's on the outside of it, it has vegan leather too because they already did enough harm to animals, so they did that for you. So if you get the entire box set, it's so much easier to go from the first footnote to the back one and get everything all summed
And
up.
really, the culmination of the entire book is you just know C++.
Yes, yes.
Kind of the whole point.
All right, so that's it. No more entertaining way to learn a programming language. And read about dogs in jars. So, but that's not the name of the book. It's not.
Why
It's not the old man in the C++ manual. What is the actual title of this book, Melissa? War Child.
What's the top,
I feel
Melissa?
like
What does it say?
Read the top, Melissa. What's that say?
Thrust through many dimensions, he has to defeat the powers that threaten to enslave all.
Of course.
I think that one's by C. Robert Cargill. So we're gonna move on to round 2, and I feel like we need to have some sort of change between round 1 and round 2. So the change we're gonna do is we're gonna switch up the teams. I think it should be Jerry and Nick, and I think it should be Molly and Shannon.
Unprecedented.
And you don't have to switch chairs.
No,
We'll all
we'll stay.
remember what teams you are, because
Did someone win the first round, or how are we doing this?
everybody won the first round.
Oh, that
You know who won? You know who won the first round? Education. won the first round.
Yeah, that's us, to be clear.
That's right. That's
Bringing his
right.
power.
People who live in the state of Minnesota and have access to books won this first round.
Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, really quick, how long did it take you to write Wikipedia?
Coming to the Fringe next year. Wikipedia by Tim Wick.
No relation.
No relation.
I'm gonna keep you working for years.
All right.
You have a whole team of minions helping you with those articles.
Yankee
Yes.
Candles by Tim Wick. No relation.
I'm glad that you acknowledged that everyone won because I couldn't remember if there was a way that people won. So
It's been years. I don't
remember it.
Yeah, at this point, the fact we're back is the real victory.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Nick and Jerry go first in round 2, and we're going to have Molly and Miss Shannon.
Oh yeah, what does that mean? Does it mean the title?
Because the title.
Molly and Miss Shannon are going to pick the title.
Okay.
Yeah. Go first means you're describing the book. We're just going to stick with that unless I change it.
I'm here for it.
So here we go. We're going to show you the first book cover. Molly and Miss Shannon will come up with it. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Oh, I remember this book. I saw that cover in my formative years, if you know what I'm saying.
Nice.
Oh, you have it. You have it. What is the title of this book?
Oh, it's obvious.
Oh yeah.
I know.
It's Tall Side Story, a fishnet love tale.
Tall Side Story, a fishnet love tale.
It's saucy.
Yes.
It's
Spicy.
That's why we both read it.
Spicy.
Jerry, I don't know about you, but I will never get tired of hearing Romeo and Juliet in 1,000 different ways with 1,000 different.
Absolutely never.
It's a time as old as story as old as time.
Time as old as tales.
It's time as old as tales.
I mean, in this version, like being a woman, a giantess, really,
Yeah.
just arriving in New York City, moving into the Bronx,
Yeah.
and just wanting to be able to make clothes that fit.
I like that initially, she's so frustrated with everything that she's actually using literal fishnets
Oh yeah,
as her stockings.
down at the docks.
And the dock workers are super upset because she just steals them. right off the boats.
But, hearkening to the sauciness mentioned, she did have a way to get the fishermen to agree to a little trade.
Yeah, an exchange of goods and services.
Yeah, a little looky-loo.
Yeah, a peek up the, I mean, it's hard not to, she's way up there. Like, that's just physics, but yeah, I mean, eventually, everyone's happy with the arrangement.
They agreed, gave her the nets, and then she was able to procure a job at one of the factories, which thankfully back then they built them big, so she was able to shimmy in.
Well, it's, I mean, like you've all heard of like the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. That factory is you know, shirtwaist like is in reference to her shirtwaist size is the size of a factory building. So that's you know, they did build them bigger for her.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can see with her top there, the beautiful curves down to really accentuate her body. And she kind of started a revolution in for women because she ran out of cloth. There was a shortage as soon as she got through the skirt.
Well, it was, I mean, a part of that was she was the first person to put pockets on a skirt. And the cost, though, was the fabric used to make those pockets left her with less fabric for the top.
And unfortunately, the reason pockets had such a big setback was after 3 of the workers suffocated inside of that pocket. When they got stuck inside after they lifted it up, nobody could hear them. They were muffled by the fabric.
It's a real tragedy. And I wonder, you know, speaking of tragedy, there is, of course, the tragic love story, which we haven't managed to touch on yet.
Ah, yes, the gentleman.
I think gentleman's generous. He was kind of a cad.
He was a fisherman, after all.
Yeah. You know, I just think that, like, I hate to reduce the protagonist to the, you know, term fishwife. But like ultimately, like
it was the times.
That's ultimately her fate, I guess. But he was ornery.
Well, he worked on the docks. They have a different way of speaking, and it's mostly swearing.
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they chose to phonetically spell out all of his accented speech. As a dyslexic, it made it very difficult for me to read.
I do remember reading the book to you late at night.
I like it. Jay, can you do the voices of the sea captain? I just want everyone else to
All the fucking damn you from me! Quick, the gag is on you!
It's a little known fact that Robert Shaw used that as an inspiration for Quint in Jaws.
and for all of last summer, like that's what I got to go to sleep to every night was Jerry.
Now, getting back to Romeo and Juliet, instead of like these 2 opposing families, it was the dock worker unions and the garment district unions that really did not want this crossover to happen.
Yeah.
But they did find a place of solace because in the sea, she could just be up to her neck. So they could be at eye level.
Yeah.
Tell them about the beautiful scene when they finally, it was the middle of a storm, like the eye of a storm.
Yeah, so the docks were underwater. The fisherman had nowhere to park his boat. Park
Park is appropriate.
Park his boat. And so you know, she was mad at him. She wasn't going to be with him, but she was realizing she loved him, and so she waded out to the sea. He actually docked his boat at her shoulder, and so they were able to have like a sweet moment there. He tied off on her hair, which is doesn't sound comfortable to me, but some people thought it was kind of hot. So And they were able to have this, like heart-to-heart.
30 seconds left. You better get to the end of the book. We need to know the conclusion.
Showing off that shoulder was a big deal back then. So like raising it above the waves so that he had a way to...
Every ebb and flow was a tease of the shoulder.
But, I mean, they concluded that there was no way they were going to be able to be together.
Right.
And so they made a poison out of fermented fish guts.
Right. but it was too small of a dose for her, so he thought
she's fine.
He thought she had eaten the poison and it was enough for her, and it wasn't. So he ate the poison and he died and she lived. And yeah, it's super sad. Super sad.
And you can go visit her today. And, in the Bronx, she's still there. She's very old.
Yeah.
Time's up. Time's up. That was
3 minutes of listening to Jerry and Nick talk about women's fashion gives me breath. My new favorite thing. Can you do that every time we hang out?
Yeah, the A line on it.
I like the hem.
and I hate to be the bearer of shocking news, but that's not the actual title of that book.
What the hell are you saying?
It's true. It's true. Melissa has fooled us again.
But it was such a good title and not dumb.
The title is The Street.
Because that's the most important thing in that image.
Yeah. Can you read that? Can you read the top there?
Yes.
The unforgettable story of a beautiful woman beset by the passion, sin, and violence of the city.
I bet she's not even tall. I bet she's regular height and it's just bad art.
It's just really...
Is that forced perspective?
Right. Dang it.
What is she standing on?
They had a lot of soapboxes back then.
My bad.
She's in the foreground. That just doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. It's okay. Well described, Jerry and Nick, but it's your turn to come up with a book title to tell everybody what the book title already is that you already know, and for Molly and Shannan to describe the plot that they already know. So let's see our next book cover there, Melissa. Wow, Halle Berry's been slumming. Okay, what is the title of this book?
Jerry's got it.
Cats, and bats.
Cats, and bats.
There's commas.
There's an Oxford comma.
Yeah.
For those of you discussing people out there.
Okay. All right, tell us what this book is about.
This was my favorite book in junior high.
Oh my God, yes.
It was, because you don't often have a way that they really make the fact that you're really interested in what goes on in like your house pets and bring in some wild animal out there and like kind of thing, because I wasn't going to go in caves when I was
No.
So the fact that they wrote this serialized novel for us that we got to read at school, I was so happy.
Yeah, this is the third installment. The first book is Cats, the second book is Cats and Cats, and then of course Cats, and Bats. And so the additive nature of it, I loved it because like, it's kind of like, I don't know about you, I was into like the Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High, and like those are boring books for regular girls, and I'm a fucking weirdo. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm a weirdo. And yeah, I was very weird in school. I don't know about you, but
this was weird that our parents actually like co-signed because you were learning while you were weird, and that was all they wanted. That's all my mom wanted.
And for me to not talk. My mom was really big into that too.
Oh, my mom talked.
Yeah. So like it was what I loved. So one of my favorite chapters. I don't know how you felt about this, but I loved the second chapter about cats because the first chapter I was like, yeah, I know all this. I know about cats. But the second chapter is where they really started talking about the mischievous nature of cats. And you were meant to really feel like you were the cat being described. And as a teenage girl, I felt like I could be a mischievous cat. Like I wanted to just be like, like clawing people's faces off and getting my fur everywhere. Like, yeah, knocking over lamps.
And by the time you got to chapter 6, which is all about the bats,
Oh,
I was
yes.
so excited. And I could tell that my mom had pre-read this book for me because I had this really, really intense fear of like dark spaces and caves. Like I wouldn't even look under my bed. I don't know what
Oh,
you
yeah,
get.
yeah.
But then once I did it, I'm like, oh wait, you can actually just expand your wings and take over this dark space. And if you just close your eyes sometime and just do that,
Yes.
you can just, it'll bounce off the walls and you'll never be lost again.
Okay, so you know how like when you read A Wrinkle in Time, maybe you practice kithing, you see if you can do it.
Right.
That was me with the sonar in this book. I was constantly just like,
Right!
and you're trying to hear it bounce.
And learning that if you change like the pitch, so sometimes it's ooh, and it would be a difference.
Yes.
I love
And
that.
so like, okay, so there was a white-nosed bat, and I thought that he was pretty cool, but like, there was a little brown fruit bat, right? Oh my God, okay, so.
I just wanted to just
I know, yeah, so his name is Jonathan, and he was so cute, and like he had his little fuzzy belly, and they would describe it at length, which is a little weird.
Do you remember they actually had like fuzzy stickers that you could put on your
Yes.
trapper keeper? I had 7 of them.
Oh my God! And you just like touch it, it was like, oh, it was so good. But like, okay, I think we should talk about the elephant in the room, which is the cover is a little saucy.
I know, but I really just understood because it was the same thing as you guys have all heard about those Disney movies where somebody just sneaks something in.
Yeah.
The fact that this disgruntled photographer
Yeah.
was just so upset that they didn't have an opportunity to have all of this great knowledge when they were a kid, that
Yeah.
they ruined it for all of us, and we're trying to get us to turn on it.
Yes.
I am so glad that your parents and my parents were like, oh no, we're gonna get these books anyway because it's about the content.
I lived in a very sex-positive household, and so my mom was really cool with it, but honestly, she was disappointed there wasn't any sex in the book when I told her later. She was hoping that would just teach me.
And have the talk.
Which I genuinely think is why for the longest time I thought I needed to use sonar in order to like attract a mate. And so like I made a lot of high-pitched screaming noises that didn't really do much.
That's a common mistake. I can totally see why you did that.
So were you in the
Isn't
film
part of the
club?
problem that, I mean, like, a significant portion of the book, doesn't it turn into sort of an echolocation instruction manual?
That's a common misconception.
Oh.
Right.
It's not so much an instruction manual
No.
as it is like, so it's like a journal where you like can fill in your own, you know, like that Dr. Seuss book, In a People House, or the where you like count all the things in your house and you write it in. It's like that. So it was like, how many caves can you find in your hometown? And like, you know, how many bats did you see today?
And then when you turn it over, it actually turns into a choose your own adventure story. So
Yeah.
you can actually go, well, which cave should I go to today?
Yes.
And you can go, okay, well today I'm in the cave that goes, and it had all of the guano in it, and that one was a little smelly.
And I got my thumbs in the book to make sure I can go back to the good cave if I find
Exactly.
it. Yeah, you know,
Like, oh,
yeah.
man, wrong decision.
So like this definitely though I will say was a sexual awakening for me because I do think that all the talk about the caves and being how like great caves are and just like how they're very mysterious and full of cool cats, it really got to me in a way that I became a spelunker.
Oh, okay.
And it's just something that I've always, you know, this is kind of the first time I'm admitting it in front of a big group of people.
I appreciate your vulnerability.
Yeah, I just really loved rappelling down into those dark spaces just to find my Jonathan.
Well, I think that it was a good story for so many of us because it didn't really help me with that sexual awakening, but it did help with my body positivity because I'm like, look at all that skin they show. It
Yes.
just looks more comfortable than having more fabric.
Well,
So-
the cats are cleaning themselves constantly. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
and they don't care. And I mean,
And the bats just leave it anyway, and then
Yeah.
people pick it up and use it for like other things.
yeah, then and like the way they talk. So there was this like really big cat who like, I mean, she was the powerful queen cat, and like
Absolutely.
that was so great.
And she was chunky but sexy.
Yes, and it was like such a breath of fresh air after always hearing about the size 6 blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sweet Valley twins. Like I was over it. And so like, you know, knowing that there was this just like plump chonker of a ginger just really just like
30
making
seconds,
her-
30 seconds left. We got to hear what
The
how
most
this book
disappointing
ends.
part was that we'd only got 5 of these in the series before they moved on.
Oh, I know.
Because I was just so excited about being able to continue this as I like moved into high school, so I was really disappointed that the series ended.
So I read cats and cats, cats and bats, cats, bats and rats.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to pick up cats, bats, rats and hats?
I did, it was so great.
Oh my God,
It was so great. I
What was
had a
the hat?
blazer that had all of the characters on it. It was so great.
Oh my God.
I still have it
Were
in
the
my
hats
closet.
beautiful?
They were beautiful.
And the time's up. We can't talk about it anymore. Now, I don't want to believe that the title of this book is actually not Cats, Cats, and Bats. Apparently, it is not Cats, Cats, and Bats.
Get out of here!
Melissa, what is the title of this book?
So what we did.
Basically, yeah.
The images for The Vampire Master by I
Can't read that.
Well, I found my costume for next year.
All right, so that's the end of round 2. We do need to declare a winner. The winner is clearly cat people. So, if you're a cat person, congratulations. If you are not a cat person,
Delicious.
well, maybe the next round will be kinder to you. So we're going to move on to round 3. We're going to switch things up again. That's right, we're going to change the teams more. We're going to put Jerry and Molly together. We're going to put Shannon and Nick together.
I liked the alliteration of the Molly and the Shannon.
That was good. That was good. That was good. I like that too. But it's gone. So we'll go for more alliteration, and it'll be Jerry and Molly and Miss Shannon and Nick.
Well, the M is silent.
So for round 3, we are going to start with, let's start with Jerry and Molly coming up with the first title, and Miss Shannon and Nick are going to describe the book. What's our next book cover? Wow! All right, so Jerry and Molly, I need a book title for this final round. The first book title of the final round of CONvergence 2023. I'm just because this is taking a long time, I've got to just kind of keep dragging it until they come up with a book title. And I'm going to remind them the panel ends in 20 minutes. So,
Okay, we got it.
Okay.
This is the well-known book, A Stable Full of Blouses.
Oh good, another book about fashion, A Stable Full of Blouses.
But absolutely appropriate for the theme this year at CONvergence of all dressed up. It does make
Good
sense.
job, Melissa, choosing books on theme.
Yes.
It's, a lot of people might not know this true fact, but this book is where the term bodice ripper comes from.
Yes, I wondered if you would start with that.
Talking about romance novels, and it's because of the stable full of blouses, but it's also bodices and corsets.
They were ripping everything,
There's-
actually. There was a lot of ripping going on.
Anything to get in there.
Yep.
Get to everything.
Just get to the skin and the flesh. But that's
Yeah.
all right, because sometimes it's also, not only do we learn about bodice ripping, but this is why we also have tearaway pants.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't think so in this setting, but that's where they did it, in this historic setting. Just knowing how comfortable it was that, hey, you need a little more fabric when you're on the horse, but the minute you get off, that bodice has to go, and so do these pants.
Yeah. It's kind of eerily, it's kind of spooky how they predicted Velcro
Right.
years before it was invented.
Exactly.
But I mean, the sound they describe, the way he takes them off like a Chippendales dancer is all it's like they were seeing the future in this book.
How do they spell that sound?
It's phonetic.
Because there was like a whip noise at the end, so like whoosh.
There's some
That's the
Fs.
ripping thing. That's the ripping.
There's some Fs. There's an S.
A couple of Z's.
Yeah.
And many K's. Many K's were involved in that tearing of the noise.
Yeah. It's a hot sound.
It is.
I mean, I won't lie. Yeah.
But I didn't know I was gonna feel so hot. I actually read the first time they put it in the book. I turned back to that page a couple of different times. I was like, yeah, you got me.
Dog-eared that one?
Yes, a little bit kind of thing. I'm like, all right, it worked for me.
For me, it was the hayloft.
Oh, but that sounded itchy.
I mean, it sounded. I imagined at least that they got rid of most of the hay to make room for storing more blouses, and so I just, in my mind's eye, they were like rolling around on a pile of clothes and not on itchy hay. But I think that might have been just a me thing. So.
And the variety of the blouses that they have, because it wasn't just like one color or one fabric. The fact that they were able to like just branch out and actually make it very just positive, no matter what economic level you came in, whatever strata you are, you had a blouse. in this society, and that is important.
Lots of periwinkle though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the author just likes the word periwinkle.
I also thought that maybe it might be an homage to the fact that right now, like back in the day, if you had things that were purple, it showed that you had status because it was difficult to have that dye. So I was thinking that maybe that was an homage to the periwinkle, that they had some status, or they were trying to achieve a status. So it wasn't actually royal purple, but it was the periwinkle. So just a dab of status is what I thought it was.
Yeah, I didn't get that footnote.
Because
Subtext.
that was
Sorry,
part of
subtext.
that was part of the reason why it was so thing, because the person that had the incredibly purple bodice was with the person that had just the periwinkle, just the ruff. And it was like, oh, you could tell that it was like the haves and the have-nots that were coming together. And it was so beautiful, because I liked that.
It was like, I kind of suspect maybe like Prince's wardrobe was largely influenced by this book.
I see it.
And I, you know, like I'm not like a fashion expert, but I think I get that feeling. I've seen people talk about it on Reddit a lot.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Prince, and that is odd, because isn't one of the chapter titles When Doves Cry?
Yeah, but that was disappointing because I loved all of the bodices except the times that they put them on the animals.
Yeah.
And so, like, you had them on the horse. So of course that dove was crying, it was all constricted, and the bodice had those buttons that come all the way up here on this little thing, and so it couldn't even like appropriately like move its wings anymore. It was a very restrictive blouse and blouse.
They put chickens in girdles,
Yes.
and they couldn't lay eggs anymore. Like it was,
Which really affected the town.
Yeah. It was an economic downturn in this farming town. All of a sudden, they weren't producing any eggs, and it was the girdles.
Yeah, and the feudal lords just wouldn't let them just take those girdles off and just let those chickens just free.
Just let them do their thing.
It's so restrictive. It's so restrictive.
Do you think that was a commentary on how clothes can be restrictive, not just like physically, but you know, like how there are
You got 30
flesh
seconds
containers?
left.
Absolutely, I do agree with you that's absolutely, they were just trying to do that commentary on, sometimes you just need to let yourself free, and if you feel like you're in a different strata, just say they did at the end, the best peasant in the world can actually have that periwinkle as well.
That was a happy ending for me. Everyone got the colors they wanted, and the chickens were set free from their girdles.
Absolutely.
Time's up. And in an amazing twist, Melissa tells me that actually was the title of this book.
Of course it was.
What is going on in this presentation?
Get it together, Tim.
So, Melissa, what is the title of that book? A Passion for Glory.
Teresa is excited.
Isn't it There's a Conway?
Yeah.
There's
a Conway. There's a Conway.
Over at the Frankenstein.
So that was our penultimate book cover. So our final book cover. That's right, $10 word.
It was a spicy.
You know how we know $10 words? Because we read.
Yes.
So,
Melissa, do you have this in your library at home? Is this your Bodice River book? Yes.
So we're going to have our final description, of course, by Molly and Jerry. That means Shannan, Miss Shannan, and Nick are going to tell us the title of our final book of Judging a Book. Dragon lover, come rescue me.
What going on there?
I was wondering when we were going to get the Chuck Tingle book cover.
Do you want to say?
No, you got it. I love it.
It's Raptor Rapture, don't judge me by my boyfriend.
Rapture, don't judge me by my boyfriend. Jerry and Molly, please.
No, I mean, I think we can all agree that the Jurassic Park series has gone off the rails a bit.
It's just gone a bit far, and the thing is, I mean, I don't know. Ever since Hasbro bought Dungeons and Dragons, they've been really trying to like push it into new areas, and I feel like putting those two things together and trying to make it like, you know, what if the dinosaurs could have relationships? You know, and I for me, what's tricky is that like this just was so heteronormative.
It's true. And I mean, I felt like they were really trying to push a few particular agendas because they even had a foreword from an archaeologist
Yes.
trying to claim that new research had shown that the raptors did date.
Yes, I mean, and they found evidence of romance apparently.
Yeah.
Like I guess they found some raptor skeleton and there were like fossilized roses and chocolates nearby.
You lean into carbon dating.
Yeah. So, like,
Absolutely.
I guess I appreciate the scientific, but it's very Michael Crichton, right? To be like, this book is real, and so, but I guess for me, a big part of it was I just didn't really believe the motivation that the fiery redhead, and that's all they ever called her. It was just always the fiery redhead. That she loved the raptor.
Yeah.
It really felt like it was more of a status grab.
Well, and she totally dyed her hair.
She
you
definitely
could
did.
tell.
And she was always like, talking, like she kept telling everybody that it was that she like, don't judge me by my boyfriend. And no one was. That was what was so weird.
The more that we talk about this book, the more I'm realizing maybe it was all about like feeling for the raptor the whole time.
Oh,
that
wow.
was the true protagonist.
Oh, wow, that's
And that-
such a good
And that she
interpretation.
was just a smokescreen, a red smokescreen.
Boy, it's almost like, God, now I'm wondering, was my reading of this book actually a deliberate move on the author's part because my immediate reaction was to, in fact, relate to the human and not the raptor? And isn't that what we kind of do
Yeah,
all day?
we really
I
need to
often don't
examine
relate to
ourselves.
dinosaurs. Boy,
Now,
you really opened my
let's
mind.
dig back more into the book.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes is when they went to Raptor Prom.
The band was so good.
Oh my God!
Okay.
What were the lyrics to the
So-
song that opened it up?
I used to always sing it a little bit in my head, but the
Yeah.
lyrics were Raptor, Raptor, get your dance on, Raptors, Raptors, it's time to have fun. And then
yeah. Dancing up to the rafters, Raptor, Raptor.
What I love, so I'm a big horror fan, and so I really love the fact that at Raptor Prom they dump blood on everyone. I got I was like, oh, that's a little cheeky nod to Stephen King, but it was great because then everyone was just devoured, and I thought that was so cool. It's just their culture.
Yeah, it was like a curious bloodbath, but that was just the norm for this.
Yeah.
That's where they got their punch.
And I think we learned later that is actually why the raptor was so drawn to the fiery redhead, was because he thought she was soaked in blood.
Yeah, and it's not a comedy book, but
No.
one moment I thought was very funny is
Yeah.
that in order to spike the punch, they would get the humans at the dance drunk before they
Yes.
slaughtered them.
That was very funny. Do you remember? Okay, so do you remember there was that one part? It was kind of weird, and I don't know if I interpreted it right, but there was like a secret chapter. Like you had to open a little flap at the back of the book once you were instructed. So what clues were inside yours? 'Cause I think every book had different clues.
So what I got was, it was like the hidden diary of the principal of the school.
Oh shit! That's crazy. I had like a cipher, and it just was like words that spelled out raptor. I was kind of disappointed.
I think you're just dyslexic.
That could be. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I guess I felt like there was a lot to be gained from. I wonder if there's a way to get everything together and solve it, like that 11th Hour book, and try to solve the mystery inside.
So, and the mystery being, of course, who ate the principal.
Right.
Because
Right.
the journal cuts off.
Yeah, it's like he actually writes out, oh my God, who is that? It's, and then it ends.
And then there's a splatter across the page.
That's cool. I wish I'd actually gotten to see that.
We have 30 seconds left.
I do think that the juxtaposition of a typical high school prom with a murder with raptors is a novel way to bring teenage fiction into the stratosphere.
Yeah, it felt like one of those kind of alternative school stories that you get. You've got the Raptor Prom, you've got Raptor Ball.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it and made no sense. The scoring system was nonsensical.
I did cry when I found out that it was like the cute little raptor that did the murder and now he was going to go to prison forever, and raptor prison seems very bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's time. Sadly, we'll have to wait until the sequel to find out what Raptor Prison is actually like.
It's not good.
If you'd like to hear that prom song, the Dregs are performing tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
It'll pay pay you $5 to hear
Yeah.
Raptor
Now you,
at
now
the
you
prom.
have to. Now you have to.
Up to
It could happen.
Raptor.
The Raptor. All right. Melissa, it's weird. She just told me that's not the actual title of the book.
Get out.
I don't know. 6 times in a row. What are the odds? Melissa, what's the actual title of this book?
Exactly what we said. What we said.
She was a country girl looking for excitement.
Well, she found
He was an apex predator theropod.
I'm so glad Matt Kessinger's not here to see us mistake an allosaur for a raptor.
Right.
Very embarrassing.
You would have
He was
just been
unfriend all of us.
scandalized.
Yeah, again, it's the forced perspective on the cover that really makes it hard to know what's going on.
I never
He's
wanted to
standing in the
reread
street
a book.
mall.
It's an easy mistake, if one's really honest. So that's well done. I think clearly the loser of this round is the Reverend Matt Kessin, wherever he is. So sorry about that, Matt. Sorry that you're not here to watch us just completely blow our dinosaur knowledge.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
not approved.
That's the sequel.
You know, and I know many of us are surprised because we thought all dinosaur sex fiction was by Chuck Tingle, but it turns
Yes.
out there are other contributors in this amazing genre of speculative
He
fiction.
really stood on the shoulders of giants.
Well, this has been judging a book by its cover for CONvergence 2023. If you enjoyed what was presented to you today, I'm going to suggest you could check out what our fabulous tech person Melissa is doing next. That's
Yes.
PowerPoint karaoke on main stage. Nick Mai and myself will be appearing on main stage again tonight at 10 p.m. in a little show we call Vilification Tennis.
I'm sorry in advance.
Shannan, aren't you? You're doing like a comedy showcase? Is that
Yes,
tonight?
I will be doing comedy and stand-up comedy and storytelling tonight on the main stage at 7 p.m.
Main stage at 7 p.m. Miss Shannan Paul.
Oh, and speaking of Reverend Matt, you can see Reverend Matt Kaysen, Ben Sandell, and myself on Wordslinger's Way tomorrow night at 10.
Ish.
Yes.
10-ish.
Yes.
10-ish in Wordslinger's Way. Jerry, is there anything you're doing?
Oh, we got Killer Bees Improv Movie Show tonight at 11:30.
11:30.
And you'll be operating the theremin for that once again.
There will be a theremin.
There's a theremin, but Jerry's not playing it.
What?
I am allowing someone else to play
We've got
the theremin
we've
this
got
Eve.
Callie McMorrow doing music.
Yeah.
She's gonna have
Oh, all
Thanks
right.
for ruining that surprise.
And Melissa,
It's
did
not
you
a
have something
surprise,
else?
it's a draw.
Oh, that was it. That was it. Killer Bees. So, and if you would like to watch things that none of us are in, there are plenty of other options. So,
Yeah, look it up yourself.
so thanks a lot for coming out, everyone. PowerPoint karaoke, main stage in about a half an hour. Have a great day.